when DePaulo came along, he had his style. Matt Vaughn had his style. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody had a style. Here comes Marley. Marley's got her style. Then there was like this wave. And the wave is still kind of going on where everyone turns off any creative muscle they have in their body. And they're just like, I'm just going to take Brad's style.
I'ma give it all I got, like grinding every day, ain't no other way.
Embrace the Grind, Season 2, episode, I don't know, we're with my main man, Jaman Burton. One of my actual influences into getting into poker vlogging. I don't know if I've actually ever told you that.
No, I don't.
No, 100%. No, when I first started poker vlogging, I was influenced by Andrew Nemi, obviously, because he was the first person in our space. And I started watching his videos, and then you start getting recommended. The YouTube algorithm just kind of shows you like who it thinks you would like. Once I started watching Andrew, it started feeding me Brad. Yeah. And it started feeding me your videos.
I think I started like, it must have been like hours before you. Like, I don't think I had that, maybe a couple months?
Yeah, maybe 4 months or so.
Yeah.
But I saw that you had success pretty early on.
There's nobody in the space.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, I think that we had a passion for it.
Yes, 100%.
And that's actually something that I'm excited to talk about today.
Yeah.
Here's the thing is that, like, normally when I do these Embrace the Grind interviews, I have, like, all of these notes planned out. I actually wrote nothing down. All I know is the time.
We're off the cuff, man.
Off the cuff, 100% off the cuff.
I'm going to try not to get canceled.
We can edit. It's not live. It's not live.
I'm trying not to get canceled, folks.
But I mean, you obviously have an interesting story because you are one of the godfathers of poker vlogging. Like I said, when I started, it was Andrew Nemi, Brado, and you and Trooper. Yeah. And those are the only guys that were actually being fed to me on YouTube. And you guys were all passionate about it. Mm-hmm. Like you guys were all making regular uploads. And I remember yours, they struck me as like funny and creative, and you like Justin Bieber and
love him.
You weren't afraid to, pull out your camera in public. And yeah, it really influenced me to start making these videos. And first of all, I want to rewind a little bit. You are actually a Las Vegas resident now.
I am. Yeah, I've been here for a little over a year.
And you moved from the Midwest. You were in the Midwest for a long time.
I was in the Midwest my entire life. I mean, born and raised Cincinnati, Ohio, went to college at Iowa State, moved to Wichita, Kansas for a while, then a quick jaunt over to New York. I lived in New Jersey, New York, then back to St. Louis, and been in St. Louis for 20 years.
Yeah, and when did poker pop up on this journey?
I think I was just like a lot of people, a moneymaker, baby.
Oh, okay.
I was in Wichita visiting some friends and didn't have a car and was stuck at my buddy's house. And ESPN was doing one of their marathons of like, I don't know, 2003 World Series. And I knew nothing about poker, but I bowled. Like I was a big bowler. And during bowling, we'd play a poker game. At the time, I didn't know what it was. Now looking back, it was a 5-card draw game. Every strike, you got a card. Every spare, you got a card. And whoever won at the end of the game, the bowling game, got something. I don't know. I had to buy drinks or a bucket of beer. Who knows? I don't remember. But I just remember not knowing which hands beat what. Like I literally had no clue.
Wow.
Like I knew a 2-pair beat a pair, but I didn't know if a set was better than a flush, a straight, nothing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch this poker thing on ESPN and learn the hand rankings.
That's crazy.
And I was just drawn in. It just pulled me in instantly.
Yeah, it's wild because I feel like the only reason that I got into poker is because I had a conduit, that somebody who was very close to me, like my brother and Christy, they were so into it that they pulled me in. You're saying that you were the only like conduit, like you got interested in it based on life experience. No friend actually brought
No, I got into it just so I could be better during bowling.
Oh, wow.
That was because you worked a 9 to 5, right? You had a 9 to 5.
You had a 9 to 5.
Still have a 9 to 5.
Yeah, but at the time, like, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, my interest was only, I need to learn the hand rankings. And then I got pulled into the story, the whole moneymaker thing, the whole story.
Did you start playing a lot right away once you got pulled in?
I think I'd love to say, oh yeah, I went home and deposited $5 on PokerStars and never looked back. But I think it was more like, I deposited like $50 on Poker Stars, lost it, rinsed and repeated that probably like 8 times or something. Like it wasn't a big amount. But then I quickly learned that I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know what I was doing.
When did you start playing live?
So if we call this 2004, 2005, I think I first sauntered into a casino maybe like 2006, 7.
Okay.
Scared shitless.
Yeah.
Like
We all were.
so scared. Like I remember it was.
You were wearing your Bieber shirt though.
Oh my God. I'm sure I was, but I was so scared.
Yeah.
And just went through the normal things. Like I didn't know what to do, didn't know how to buy in.
St. Louis Casino?
Yeah. It was at the time it was Harrah's in St. Louis. I believe it's called Hollywood now.
And you pretty quickly became like a, we call them like weekend warriors.
It's funny, I showed up and just became a full-time reg.
Really?
Like really. Let's just say I showed up on a Tuesday and played that Tuesday. I was probably there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, so after work you were just like
I was just there.
Wow.
Like I've always been hyper focused. Like if I don't know something, I need to know it. Like I need to learn it.
Yeah.
And if you remember back then, this was pre-solvers and pre all this stuff. It felt like to me like beating poker was just about learning the basic math and then executing it. Like I have a flush draw, that means I have this, like I have a straight. Like, it was just learning. I just felt like, if I learn that, I can beat this game, and then I can move to 2-5, and then on up, and then I can win a bracelet. Like it was like the bracelet dream was still alive.
You had a background in math and science or
math
software?
I graduated with a degree in computer science and a minor in math.
Hey, you guys have, I'm a
Yeah.
computer science major myself over here. I got the 2-year degree, but I feel like we have very similar paths.
Yeah.
The only difference is that I decided to leave my job and you decided to hold on to your job for a long time.
Yeah.
Obviously, the climate of poker in the Midwest throughout these years is not such that you could make a killing.
No.
And you have to be committed to either moving to Southern California, moving to Southern Florida, moving to Las Vegas.
Yep.
Nowadays, you could probably move to Texas and make decent
Texas
money.
would be profitable right
But
now.
back then, if you're going to stay in St. Louis and try to like grind out a living, and leaving your cushy software job was not an option or not a step forward.
No, and I didn't have an Andrew or Chris. Like I didn't know anybody that did it. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't know. The only people that I knew in poker were people that I saw on TV. I knew D-Nags and Antonio and Phil Hellmuth, but I didn't know them. They were just like the only people I knew that played besides.
But now you do know D-Nag.
But then it was just like, it seemed very unattainable for me to leave, and I didn't even have a kid yet, to leave a stable job to go play this game. Like I didn't know anyone that did that.
You've talked to me a little bit about your origins with even coming up with the idea of vlogging. Why don't you share with the vlog? Like what was the first thing that like we were like, oh, maybe I can make a video?
Yeah, so I've always been a journaler, like always. Like I can go through boxes in my house and pull out journals from like 7th grade, right? So one day I was playing, and it's so funny that this is actually documented. This is in a vlog. I was playing in St. Louis, and one of my favorite dealers came to the table, and she goes, "Jaman, the trooper is here." And I go, "The what?" And she goes, "The trooper is here. He's over at that table." And I'm like, looking. Like I was like literally looking for like a cop or something that like came into the room like in full uniform, like because that would be weird. Like why is a cop in here in full uniform? So I'm looking around. I'm like, Priscilla, I don't know who you're talking about, what you're talking about. And she goes, just look up the trooper on YouTube. And so I'm sitting there. I'm playing 1-2 in St. Louis, and I pull out my phone and I type in the trooper, and I see this guy, right, walking from casino to casino, recording his hole cards, which is like highly taboo to record anything in a casino, recording his hole cards, talking to the camera, talking about his hands, and I'm just like, this is amazing. Yeah. Like this, like it instantly captured like my journalistic side. Then it was like, oh, this hobby I love, this poker, I can capture that. And I was just taken back. Like I was floored. Like I sit there and I binged like 6 of his vlogs. He got up and probably went and got coffee or something, and I just like ran behind him like a puppy dog, like, I love your stuff. And he was
day
like,
one, you were.
Day one. This is like hours after.
okay.
This is like hours after Priscilla said he was in the room, and he was like, "Oh, thanks, man. What's your name?" And then I told him my name, and then he was doing this Trooper Across America thing where he traveled to America playing cards, and I remember he released the vlog the next day. And in the vlog, he was like, I'm in St. Louis and I met this guy named Jaman. And I was like, oh, he said my name on the vlog. Like, it was mind blowing to me.
Wow.
Such a fanboy. Like, I was still in like super poker fanboy mode.
That's actually really impressive knowing what I know about video editing.
Yeah.
Like that he turned around a video the next day.
Like the kid doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He released a vlog a day for years.
He still actually does that.
I don't think he does it every day
From
anymore.
time to time, I've seen him, really.
But just like, I mean, you know this, just finding copyright-free music and cutting the scenes. And a lot of times he wraps up his sessions,
maybe 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and then the video's out the next morning.
Like, he's incredible.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that actually, as a perfectionist, I have never been able to do that.
No.
And I think that it's something that's very admirable.
I did do it.
Really?
Yeah, I did do it. And I think that was... How do you say this? I think that's when my videos popped, I guess, a little bit. So the Trooper comes in. I meet the Trooper. Then the very next day, he says my name on the vlog or whatever. I get inspired. I'm like, I'm going to try to create a vlog. How hard can this be? And I took my daughter to Toys R Us, which doesn't even exist anymore, and I vlogged it. It has to be in the top 10% of worst videos ever put on YouTube.
So it was a Toys R Us vlog.
It was a Toys R Us vlog of me and my daughter shopping for Barbies or something.
Okay.
Like sometimes it was landscape, sometimes it's portrait.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make any sense.
You know what's actually kind of cool is that like you actually have that video still.
Yeah.
That you can show your daughter.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I actually love about vlogging.
Yeah.
Is that it's more than providing entertainment or more than providing education for your audience. It's actually a diary
Now, yeah.
for yourself, your daughter, things like that.
Now you're getting to the crux of why I vlog.
Yeah, and that's the thing
that
is
was
that
a
like
big point.
maybe it doesn't perform well. Maybe you like actually make it a private video, but you're gonna have that 20 years down the road when Jada is at her wedding and you're like, look at this time with Toys R Us.
That's actually, like I said, you're getting to the crux of why I vlog. It is so she can see what Daddy was doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have any videos of my mom and my dad. They were like disco dancers and stuff. I don't have videos of them like doing that. I don't know what my dad was doing when he was like 30 years old. I was like, it'd be cool if like she can look back. Like, will she binge my vlogs? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool. I was like, this will be like a cool journal.
Yeah.
So I decided after seeing this horrendous Toys R Us vlog that I made that I wanted to be good at vlogging. I wanted to get good. In my mind, it was like, I wanted to get good like the Trooper. Like, that was my mindset back then. So I then created 5 or 6 vlogs that I'd never publicly released.
Really?
Still, they're on YouTube as private. Like, there might be 7 people that have ever seen
They're
them.
like daily vlogs.
Like
going to the
daily.
store.
I think it was like over a 2-month period. I created like 7.
But like
vlogs.
a lifestyle. Like this is my
No,
day
they were
in a
poker
life.
vlogs.
Oh, poker vlogs.
Yeah, like
okay.
I did the whole sneaking the camera into the computer or into the casino and trying to figure out how to set it up.
Not
to
using your
capture my
phone.
hands.
Not using your phone.
Using my phone.
Oh, okay.
Using my phone. Because I didn't even have a real camera yet. Like everything was still phone. And I created them, and then I just slowly started feeling more comfortable with doing the whole process. And then it was 2017 World Series. So I flew here to Vegas, and I was like, I'm going to just vlog the World Series. And I'm going to just release a vlog daily.
Okay, so this I started vlogging at the end of 2017 in November. And so I watched these vlogs from you doing from the World Series, and these are the ones that I'm talking about.
The first one I released was day 1 of my trip to the World Series in 2017. It was like, it's called like, I don't know, it's a heat wave or something. I didn't know anything about SEO or thumbnails or anything. And I was here for 12 days, and I think in that 12 days, I released 11 vlogs.
Wow. We touched on it a bit, but we're in Las Vegas now in my apartment. And Jaman, like we had mentioned earlier, has spent his whole life in the Midwest, Cincinnati, St. Louis, and now he's in Vegas. And that's pretty late in life to make the move. To make the move Talk to me about what transpired to have you come from Midwest to Las Vegas.
I should have moved. I tell people this all the time. I should have moved here 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago when all the houses were like $75 each and like it was so cheap out here. But what happened is the pandemic. The pandemic happened. Remote working became a thing. But even then, even with remote working as an option and everyone stuck in their house, I was still kind of okay in St. Louis until like all the Ahmaud Arbery situation and George Floyd. And St. Louis is like a lot of Midwest cities. It's very segregated. Do you know what I mean? Like there's an area where black people live. There's an area where white people live. St. Louis, there's like an area where Bosnians live. There's an area where Indians live. Like it's very, very segregated. And the area I lived in, which was west of St. Louis called St. Peter's, was like mostly white. Like I would even tease people like, if you want to know where I live, just go to St. Peter's and go to like the gas station and ask them where the black guy lives. Like, so that they just tell you like where my house is. And I was fine with that. Like I went to school in Iowa. I was fine. Like I was just living my life. The problem came when the racial tensions in the country as a whole started bubbling over.
Yeah, but it was even more so concentrated in your area.
Yes. Yeah.
There was the whole like that particular area of the country, St. Louis, was a hotbed for. It
started to be. It was almost like one of the genesises of the hotbed because of the Mike Brown situation in like 2014, 2015. That happened
there, right?
Yeah. That happened in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So the George Floyd thing just took it over the edge.
Yeah.
To the point where things that seemed patriotic years before now felt threatening. Do you know what I mean? Like neighbors putting up an American flag felt very threatening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
That's
trucks running, you know, like there was a pandemic. I couldn't like go to a gym or I couldn't really get out, but I could still like jog and walk around the neighborhood. And there'd be times I'd be walking around and people in pickup trucks would ride by a little too close to the sidewalk or yell things at me. I got into a situation where at a grocery store where a guy thought I was like breaking into my own car, questioned how I could afford a Tesla. You know, I was just like, you know what? It's time to like get out of here. Because I was in, like, emotionally, I was destroyed. Yeah. I was just in, like, dire straits. I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want to, like, and I was like, if I am, 6'2", 250, and I feel tension going outside, my daughter's 10. Like, what does she have to feel? Do you know what I mean? And I was just like, this is enough.
I remember there was a point where you were trying to buy a home.
Yeah, that was the final straw.
That was like the breaking point.
That was the final straw. I found a house in St. Louis that I really, really, really liked. And I'll just throw out numbers. I don't know if they're accurate. They're probably not. But let's just say they listed the house for $350,000, right? And I went to my realtor and I go, I want that house. And I said, give them, I think it was like $35,000 over asking. Like I want it. I don't want there to be a debate. I don't want to haggle back and forth about this. Give them the money. Let's just get the house. So we bid the house and I had no contingencies, nothing. Like, and we come back and we didn't get the house. And I go, what do you mean? Like, how do we not get the house? What was the winning bid? The winning bid was like $15,000 lower than my bid. The winning bidder had all kinds of contingencies. I had to sell 2 houses. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And the seller's realtor, who later got fired for this, let slip that the owners of the house had talked to their neighbors, and the neighbors and the owners together had decided they wanted to keep their neighborhood pure. And I was done. Like, wow. I lost it, like contacted lawyers. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to get the hell out of here. So then I reached out to my daughter's mother, who we still have a great relationship. And I was like, Trisha, I'm leaving. Like, it wasn't Trisha, I'm leaving. It was, I think we need to have a talk about leaving. And then she was like, let's go. Where do you want to go? And I made like a short list of cities. It was Vegas, Scottsdale, Tampa, Denver. There was a short list of cities, and we settled on this one because we didn't want snow. We decided we didn't want snow. We didn't want humidity, and we both kind of knew people here. And the cost of living wasn't that different than St. Louis at the time.
Mm-hmm. And you got to proliferate your poker vlogging
Yeah,
career.
I got to bring back the vlog with the return to poker.
Did you consider not returning to the vlogging streets?
I did. I considered not returning to the vlogging streets publicly. So even during the pandemic, I still vlogged. Excuse me. I still vlogged. They weren't poker vlogs, but that's because I still liked the process of creation and getting in Final Cut Pro and just diddling around. Yeah. I never released them. Like I think I created like 3 or 4 vlogs that I just never released. They're just sitting on my channel during the pandemic. But I did think about like let's just not get into we're just getting into a new city. We're gonna meet new people. Let's just not jump into the vlog and do all this and. But not too long after I got here, I met up with Andrew, with Nimi. We went to, I think it was a bar in like MGM or something. And we sat at the bar and just talked. And just talking to him and just like literally like him in front of me and me seeing his voice or hearing his voice just kind of like sparked it. It just like brought it back.
You know, it's funny that you say that. I actually had lunch with Matt Vaughn today.
Yeah.
And I went into the lunch thinking that like I was a little disenfranchised with the whole vlogging landscape. You know, even uploading these Embrace the Grind videos, the views have been low, but they've been high effort. You know, I put a lot of B-roll, a lot of time and effort to make this high quality. And so when you don't get the views, it like feels like my hard work is not being rewarded. So I take a step back and I'm like, okay, so am I actually enjoying the process of creating Embrace the Grind podcast or creating these vlogs?
Right.
And going to Matt, having lunch with Matt and just talking about creating, talking about what his plans are, what my plans are, ideas for content. And I left the lunch, came back home, and I was like fired up. I'm like,
yeah, it's funny how that works.
Yeah, I'm like, let's create a video today.
Yeah, and it could get it's contagious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but and as you know, like the poker vlogging space now, and I knew this when I came to Vegas. Like, it just feels different. It doesn't feel the same. It's not as, I don't want to say innocent, but it just feels, I remember, and you'll have to help me on what year this was, where Lee Jones, who at the time was at Poker Stars, like got us all together for a vloggers game at this place called Stone's Gambling Hall in Sacramento.
Trust me, I remember this one.
Right? Because I think that's where I first met you.
Yeah.
Right? So we show up, it's me, you.
But I will say that even though we hadn't met at this point, the community was so small that we had traded a ton of messages, and I felt like you were one of my good friends before we actually had met.
Yeah, we hadn't met in person, but
which I think is what kind of the point is. Like, it's such a small community, and we developed friendships right away. Like, I was friends with you, Andrew, Brad, everyone.
Yep. So it was me, you, Brad, Andrew, Boski.
I don't remember who else, but those
I think it was us, and then there was like Stephen Young, who was like a fan, and then there was David. So he's recently passed.
Vargas or Vasquez. Yeah.
And we just had a great time when we played on the Vloggers game, but there was just like a sense of, like you said, camaraderie and community, and we were all sharing. And even then, it wasn't about, I have more views than you and more subs than you, and I'm not going to share this with you because it's going to hurt my, like that wasn't a thing. Like,
and we all like promoted each other and
yes, we all promoted each other. We supported each other's stuff. We did, we'd send each other clips. It was just a totally different, and there was no money. I remember maybe we got paid for that.
Did we? We got a free room.
Yeah, in a flight. In a flight, I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like there was like the money hadn't come into it yet.
I can guarantee you we did not sign up for poker vlogging so we could get a free flight to Sacramento.
I remember I was like, Lee, like, first of all, I don't know you, sir. And second of all, what do you mean? Like, they're going to fly me out to Sacramento. Like, why? Like, it was astonishing to me. And then the first time a room was like, no, we'll pay you.
Yeah.
We'll pay you to come out here. We'll put you up. We'll fly you out here. We'll give you money, and we want you to play on a live stream. And here's the dollar amount. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just some dude making videos. It's about the same time in the community it shifted from I'm just some dude who brought his camera to the casino to make videos to the community thinking that meant that I was a good poker player or that I was the authority on GTO or, you know what I mean? Like, and that was never even a consideration of mine, that things would go that way.
For me, it was slightly different because I had been a professional poker player for 10 years or so before I actually had ever made my first video. So I actually did feel kind of like a responsibility to impart wisdom, educate, help people. And I felt like if I help people, show them my journey as a poker player, that they'll reward me with watching the video, you know, and watching the video at the time felt like a game. Like I get to make videos and people watch them and family and friends get to see. And, you know, I never thought like, oh, because people are watching now I can make extra money.
Yeah. It wasn't a thing.
And I remember the first time, I think it was probably the same trip that you're talking about. I got the free flight. I did a meetup at Commerce and I think they paid me $500. No gas money, just like, you know, I think I lost $1,500. And then the numbers started to go up. Yeah. You know, and then all of a sudden, you know, places in Texas are offering $5,000, $10,000 to have you come. And I think at that point, it became like known that if we, you know, influenced that people would come. And I think at that point, people started entering the space in droves. You know, people started making their own poker videos because like really the only barrier to entry of making a poker vlog is bringing your cell phone to the casino and they already do that. You know, everybody already does that. But obviously, you know, talking hands, putting your face on camera is a whole nother leap of faith. But a lot of people never get past that point. Some people never figure out how to put graphics on the screen. And the ones that do, they end up quitting after like one or two videos.
It's hard as hell.
It is really hard.
it's harder than it looks. And then when you get in there, you're like when I tell people and they ask, how long does it take to create a video? And I'm like, well, I probably say the same thing you do. Like for every minute you see, it's probably like an hour of editing. Yeah. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, like for me to like do the voiceover and lay the graphics and get the like it's like normally like 30 minutes a hand or so. Like
that's actually kind of impressive to me because your production value is very high. Like you're using all kinds of overlays and comic book strips and you know all these plugins, and so I would say that your poker videos probably the most highly produced in the space in terms of vlogs. Yeah. I mean, I don't know anybody that's putting in the time to do what you're doing.
It's because I'm a nerd, dude.
Yeah.
It's because I've tinkered around. Like I figured out.
You're in Apple Motion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I figured out Motion. Yeah. Like
for those of you that don't know, it's like a graphics program that I guarantee you no other poker vlogger is using. It's like using for the Adobe equivalent is After Effects. Yes. You know, in high level video production, they actually use this kind of stuff. Poker vloggers do not use this stuff. You know, the numbers are counting up when you're like counting the pot size. There's all kinds of things.
It's because like, okay, so even if we step back a little bit, right? So I come to know this guy named Tim, the trooper, and then I start my little vlog and it's horrible. And so then I looked at Trooper's vlogs, but at the same time I was like looking at Casey Neistat's vlogs and looking at who I consider my biggest influence, which is Peter McKinnon. Like looking at Peter McKinnon's vlogs and just falling in love with their vlogs, right? And then I'd see something on their vlogs and be like, how'd they do that? Like, how did he make like the words come across the screen, or how did he fade this color into this color? And I would just spend hours, dude. Hours in Final Cut Pro just trying to make it happen. And then I stumbled upon like, oh, you have to use motion for this. And just trying to just figure out how everything worked. And then finally I came to the point where it's like, oh, you can buy a template that does that. So I would spend $15 on a template and then open the template in Motion and then deconstruct it. Yeah. Like that was the turning point.
And as a software developer, you kind of have a knack for those things. But as a normal person, like that is like really difficult.
Yeah, my reverse engineering was like huge. It was just,
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon. When you look at a lot of the OG poker vloggers like Andrew Neeme, you know, you can tell he's heavily influenced by Casey Neistat, and you were heavily influenced by the Trooper.
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly Andrew Neeme commented on one of my videos and called me the Peter McKinnon of poker vloggers.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I felt so like, this is so awesome.
That's awesome.
Because he was one of my inspirations.
Like I still watch him. Like he's one of the only things that I don't miss on YouTube.
But you know what's interesting now? The inspiration for poker vloggers are you.
Maybe.
Andrew Neeme, Brad Owen, myself.
It's Brad.
Okay, Brad.
Yeah, it's Brad.
And I know that this is actually something that I want to talk about. You've been pretty vocal on Twitter about this.
Yeah.
Brad Owen, you said, we've talked a little bit this on Twitter, that, you know, the model of him, quick intro, talking about hands, very low production graphics, has been multiplied over and over and over by poker vloggers to the point of where it's become a very saturated space. And
multiplied is a good word for it.
Multiplied.
I mean, the word you used was multiplied. I would say, because I'm old school, that he gets bit.
Theft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to me, it feels like, how do you say this? Like I remember seeing a clip of Snoop Dogg talking about rappers today compared to rappers, you know, in the beginning, where everybody had their own style. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that what he used was, I won't even like use the examples he used. I can use us. Like I had my style, you had a style. Neeme, to me, had the hardest style because Neeme does something that Neeme and Boski can do this too. I couldn't even come close to doing it, which is just turning on a camera and just reciting a hand history in real time. Zero chance I can do that.
Yeah.
They both can do that. And then Brad has his style. Trooper had his style. And when DePaulo came along, he had his style. Matt Vaughn had his style. Do you know, like everybody had a style. Here comes Marley. Marley's got her style. Then there was like this wave. And the wave is still kind of going on where everyone like turns off any creative like muscle they have in their body, and they're just like, I'm just going to take Brad's style
because he has the most views and he gets the most attention.
Maybe they do it because he has the most views, or maybe they do it because they think it's the easiest, or maybe they do it because they think it's the most replicatable. You know what I mean? Like you can't come out the gate and do what I do. You can't come out the gate and do what you do. Like it's too artistic. You can't come out. I've been out the gate for a while and I can't do what Neeme does. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you can kind of copy Brad.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's fine. Like, don't get me wrong. It's when I came out the gate, I copied Trooper. Like, because that was easy. You just walk around and you talk and then, you know, please follow me and subscribe. Yeah. But I remember telling this to Neeme. In my mind, what happens is you imitate and you duplicate in the beginning, right? Like, I give you a guitar, you're going to learn how to play green sleeves and like you're going to learn all this basic stuff, and then you're going to come up with your own voice, and then you create your own style. It's that second part that I don't think is happening. People are just copying Brad, and then they're just sticking with it. Like,
yeah, I like that analogy. It's a very good analogy.
Yeah.
where you just start with like the basics.
You start with the basics,
and then you develop your own
right.
You grow your own wings.
Yeah. So my basic, like what I started with was Trooper. If you look at my early vlogs, it's a replication of Trooper. Like, and I was fine with that because I knew I was just learning and blah, blah, blah. And then I bumped into Neeme and I was like, oh, Neeme's got cards and graphics. How did he do that? Let me figure out how to do that. You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh, Brad's kind of he has like a sense of humor. I'm funny. I'm going to throw more humor into mine. And then, oh, Peter McKinnon does these cool cutscenes, and his B-roll, like I didn't even think about B-roll. Like I'll make some B-roll, and Casey does this stuff in the city, and then you just kind of do this like amalgamation of all your influences, and you kind of come up with a voice, you know, and it's like your own unique voice. Yeah. So what's happening now is it's just like, it feels like there's a lot of creators that are just like, I'm just going to take Brad's voice.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just going to stick with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And hearing you talk through it, I actually remember my first videos, I did the hand histories like Andrew did, where it was like black around the outside.
Yeah.
And my face was in the middle and the hands were in the middle. And then around the outside were the cards. And I just built that in Photoshop because I saw Andrew doing
Right.
it. And then I was like, why do I need all this black space?
Right.
Like, I feel like I could make better usage of the space.
Yeah.
And I figured out how to put graphics on top of images rather than around the image.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like a step one, you know.
Step one is always just kind of like, you know, like I want to be able to play, you know, the simplest thing on the guitar, but it's something somebody's already played. Like you're not going to write and create your own music. Like you just want to play the opening riff to Billie Jean or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I saw an interesting poll by Marley on Twitter. You probably saw it as well, where she was talking about when she started creating content. She started creating content that she wanted to create, obviously, because you know that's why because you don't have an audience. When you first,
right.
You're like not gonna.
I was surprised as hell when anybody watched anything.
I'm gonna create for my audience. Wait, I have 0 subscribers. Yeah. So you create what you want to create, and over time, once you start to develop an audience, the audience wants certain things from you. And I feel personally, because I have such a connection with my audience, that I want to please them in a lot of ways. And it becomes this balance of wanting to please the audience with wanting to use my creative energy as an outlet, wanting to create something that's new and different for myself. And it's this like constant tug of war of, do I create something for myself? Do I create something for the audience? And the spectrum that like lives in between. Right. Where do you feel like you're currently at on that spectrum?
Again, another situation where I've been on the pendulum for a while, and I think I finally landed in a good place. Like you said, when you start, there is no audience. You're just creating purely for you and for either your love of creation or your love of documenting your journey or whatever your reasoning is. Once you start getting a little bit of audience, or at least once I started getting a little bit of audience, the first thing you learned how to deal with is being critiqued, like the negative stuff, right? Once you get over that and you build kind of like this core group of people that are always commenting and always like, you see the same names over and over and over. I would start listening to them if I felt like their comments were constructive and stayed in line with my vision. Like when people first started showing up in my comments and they're like, you should do voiceovers. It makes it better. Like when I'm driving in my car, I can like listen. And I was just like, I don't want to do voiceovers. You should do voiceovers. You should do voiceovers. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, you know what? They're right. I probably should add some voiceovers. So I added voiceovers. But whatever the audience is saying, I have to agree with it. You know what I mean? Like the genesis of the idea doesn't have to come from me, but it has to be in line with whatever I'm trying to put out, because at the end of the day, I'm the only one that cares. Yeah. So then for a while, the pendulum swings the other way where you're just like, I need to please the people so I can get the views, and I need to do like, but again, like that doesn't feel like authentic to me. It feels like pandering. It feels like, it made me not want to create. Like that's when there would be big gaps of me just not putting anything out, because I was just putting out shit. Like I was just like, this is no good.
Do you feel pressure once you land a sponsorship or you have like a commitment to like a brand deal or something like that, where you're like, I need to create content now because I have meetups, or now it's like a job? Like, do you?
Yeah, there is some of that, but that doesn't feel bad to me. That feels like one, like a contractual obligation sometimes, like when you go to meetups, and number two, I can still create the way I want to create, because two things. Number one, the audience doesn't know what they want.
Yeah.
Like they really don't.
I 100% agree with that.
They think they do, they don't. You're saying you want this because you saw Brad do it, or you saw, Rampage do it, or like, I'm gonna do my thing. Like I can't be Rampage. I can't be Brad. I can just be me. Like, cause there's times where I would look at your vlogs and there's some things that you do that are incredible that I wish I could do. And I've tried to do them. And it's just not me. Like I can't, you emote very well. Like your feelings come across very well when
I'm a very emotional person.
Yeah, you are. Like, so it's like when you take a bad beat or you have like a bad session, like you can see it. You can see it in your eyes. You can see it in your face. And I can't. Like I have a bad session, and I think I've told you this before, like my defense mechanism when I'm hurt or when I'm sad is humor. Like I always turn to humor. I'll make a joke out of it. I'll like have some snappy, I'll get them next time type thing where like inside I'm like destroyed. Like I'm just like, but I can't bring that out on camera very well like you can. And I wish I could, but I just can't. So I lean into my strengths. So when it comes to which way do you swing, like, or please the audience or please yourself and blah, 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 I'm going to please myself because like I said, number one, the audience doesn't know what they want. Yeah. Number two, they don't care. Like, and this was something I realized as I got older is that they don't like, I won't say they don't care. I mean, they care about you as a person. They love, oh, Johnny Vibes released a new video. I'm going to check it out and, la, la, la. When that video goes off, their life goes on. Do you know what I mean? They go back to whatever they were doing. They're not, hours after they watched your videos, they're not still thinking about how you played that hand. Like they're going on with your life. So why am I going to spend my life crafting something that I don't enjoy? Do you know what I mean? For somebody that in the reality, he doesn't really care about it. Like I'm just going to put out something where my passion comes through and it's the best that I can give of myself. And, that's what I got. Like,
I'm having an epiphany right now. I'm thinking about like all of the artists that have had insane longevity in terms of the music industry. Mm-hmm. You think about people like Drake or some of the like one of my friends, Zed, who Justin Bieber, when they first started creating music, and if you listen to that music from 10 years ago, and then you listen to the music that they have now, it's light years different.
Yeah.
But there's a section of the population that's like, I miss the old Drake.
Right.
I miss the old Justin Bieber.
Right.
But they're artists.
Right.
And they are creating new music that hasn't been heard before with new sounds, new vocals, new ways of presenting the music.
And they're people. They changed.
They're creatives, and largely they've been successful. People are like, oh my God, I love the new Justin Bieber or whatever. And I think it's a great lesson that as like someone who loved, the first Zed album that I ever heard, I probably would have been like, don't ever change. Next album, just like that album. But now you listen to his albums and he's like more pop music.
Yeah, Drake
now.
gets that a lot.
And Drake is like housey kind of music, you know. So, but their fans love it either way. I want to quickly change gears a little bit.
Shoot.
Because like we've talked about, you've had a job your entire life.
Yeah.
And I know that you're really close to making the leap into professional poker.
Maybe.
And like, I want to talk about some of the pros and cons, some of the reasons why you've decided not to do it, some of the reasons why you've stuck with your job. Because obviously you've built up a 401k, you have longevity at a company. Yeah. What are some of the decisions? What are some of the considerations that have gone into this decision making? And do you ever think that you could see yourself grinding it out for a living if you mixed in the revenue streams that a vlogger
If I mixed in the content, yes.
Okay.
So if I had to go play straight poker for a living, no YouTube, no content, no Twitch, no streaming, no nothing, I don't know if I could do it. I just, there's not enough meat on that bone for me. Like, if you were to ask me this like 10 years ago, I'd be like, oh, that's a dream job. I'd love to. But I know now too many players and people that play for a living that absolutely loathe it. That's just like, it used to be fun, but now it's a job. And I don't, so it's just like, if you throw the content creation in there, so I have that creative outlet, it becomes more viable for me. But personally, I started programming and writing code when I was literally 8 or 9 years old. Like, I had a subscription to this magazine called K-Power magazine that was all about kids writing code in 1981. Like, so I've never lost.
That was the year I was born.
Was it? Yeah. I was 9. So I've never lost my passion for development, which has then morphed into architecture and blah, 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 different, computery terms. If I were to ever lose that, then it's, then I'm done. But
you, as someone who progresses through because this is what I found with my programming career, is that if you want to move up within that particular profession, it usually means management.
It used to.
Okay.
So, and I can't speak for all companies, but there was, I don't want to do the man injustice and give him the wrong title. So I'll just call him one of my career mentors, this guy named Mike Weaver. Shout out to Mike Weaver if you're watching. Had this great analogy. I don't know if it was his analogy, so I don't want to give him credit where this isn't his baby, but he brought this to me. He said, in the development space, in computer engineering, science, whatever, it is like you said, like once you became a engineer or a developer, once you got so far, you had to move into management, whether it was managing other developers or managing a team or managing whatever. And they're two totally different skill sets. And in no other profession is it like that, right? Like, you're not a good doctor or a good surgeon, and they're like, okay, now you're going to be a hospital administrator. Like, that's not a thing. Like, you're a doctor, you become a good doctor, then you become a surgeon, and then you're a surgeon. And then you travel the world doing the toughest surgeries, right? You don't become the administrator of the hospital. Yeah. But in computer science, in that field, it was like that for a while. It was like developer. Okay, now you're a team lead. Yeah. And I never wanted to be a team lead. I wanted to be like the surgeon. I wanted to be brought in when problems were difficult, and then like a sniper, fix things and then go on my way. So I still have that passion for computer science and learning new languages and the math behind things. And that is what keeps me in the 9-5.
Yeah, I actually still have it too.
Yeah.
I wrote the script that when you sign up for my newsletter on JohnnyVibes.com, I have a Google script that runs every minute that sends an email that says, thank you for, or it adds them to a database or something. So I have my few things here and there, that I get to program every once in a while.
And in this field I'm in, it changes constantly. Like the language I'm writing in now, Golang, like I'd never even heard of.
I've never heard of that language.
Yeah, like I went from C to C++ to Java to Scala and from Python and JavaScript, and now it's like there's always something new.
So I was in the C to C++ to Java, and then I left.
Yeah, and Java's still around. Java's still huge.
I was gone after that.
You can still get a job in Java easy.
I don't think I remember anything.
Yeah, it'll come back. Yeah, easily you get a job in Java.
So how often are you playing poker? How often are you vlogging? Are you putting videos out regularly now?
I'm trying to be I'm on a 2-week vlog cycle right now. I'm trying to move it down to 1 week. I've made some like efficiency changes in my like whole vlog creation process that like slashed a bunch of time.
Could you ever give up the actual creation process and co-produce with someone?
I could. I was talking to Lee Jones about this today. Like, if I ever went full time, right, I would have to find an editor. Yeah, I'd have to. Yeah. Like, and I wouldn't. But the hard part would be I wouldn't want to lose my feel. You know what I mean?
And your voice.
Yeah. So the editor, if I could find an editor that just did hand histories, like I will train you. Like, here's how I do hand histories, because it's a template. After a while, it's a template.
What's your email? Let's advertise it to the
jaman.burton.vlog@gmail.com.
Send your resumes
if you want to be an editor. I don't care if you know how to edit right now. I'll show you how to do it.
That would increase your bandwidth. Yeah, for sure.
So if I could get somebody to do the hand histories, Like, because you still get it, and I still got to do the voiceover. I'm just talking about just doing the graphics, because it takes so long. But that was something that, like when I was listing all the vloggers before, and I ended with Marley as the last. I won't call her the last creative one, but she's just one in there. There was when Rampage came on the scene, changed the game completely. Like, so much respect for that kid who approaches this niche in a totally different way than anyone else. And slayed.
So he treated vlogging like a business.
Yes.
Whereas I treated poker like a business.
Yes.
And vlogging like a creative outlet.
Yes.
And all the people you mentioned, myself, Marley, Andrew Nemi, Brad Owen, Jeff Boski.
Everyone.
All started as professional poker players.
Right.
And then wanted to satisfy this creative itch.
Right.
And started creating content.
Yeah.
Rampage rewrote the rules.
Yes.
And he decided that I actually don't even know how to play poker. We are going to start from ground zero.
Right. I love it.
But I know how to be a YouTuber.
Yes.
So because he came from like video games or
Yeah.
something. And he's like, I know the systems that it involves to create a YouTube channel. I am going to apply that to playing poker.
And it just like it turned the world on its head, because I had never even thought about content first. Like, and Rampage is very content first. So like his creativity is like, I'm going to come content first. That means I need an editor. I need this in place. I need that. We're going to spin up a channel. Let's get all this. And then I'll learn the game. Do you know what I mean?
And
like,
not to take anything away from Rampage.
No.
He has actually learned the game.
Yeah, in a big way. I mean, he's got more bracelets and rings than us.
Rings.
So
a picture the other day.
So that's creative. Like coming out that. Then Mariano comes and he's like, you know what? I'm probably a better player than all you guys, and I'm going to play at higher stakes, and I'm going to hit it from that angle. And then you still have creatives. And listen, I'm not the judge of anybody to tell somebody they're creative or they're not creative. I'm just saying, like, something I can see when I see it, I'm like, oh shit, like he's doing it different. Like Slow Poker Time. If you've ever seen Slow Poker Time, like totally different. Like Greg Goes All In, totally different. You know what I mean? So there's still like avenues out there that aren't just, I'm going to take what Brad did and I'm just going to do it in my apartment.
And this is not to say that if you are interested in making poker videos, it's like what we said earlier in the episode. I took elements of Andrew Nemi's vlog to actually learn.
Yes.
Before I found my own voice. And I think that what we're encouraging is that if you want to make content. Learn from the people that came from before you. But if you want to have longevity in the space and you want to build something that you're proud of, I would suggest looking for your own voice and trying to find your own voice.
Yes, it's just so much more, in my opinion, it's so much more fulfilling. And then it's like you're paying homage to the people before you, and then you're building on top of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I blatantly stole from like Trooper and Peter McKinnon and all these people. And then I want to feel like I took what they did, put my own little spice to it, and then I gave it back. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And
that's just me. That's not like poo-pooing on anybody that's out there and saying, oh, what you guys are doing. I'm not like the old man yelling at the cloud. I'm just saying, like, as creatives, there's different ways to do things.
Yeah, and I think that part of the problem that I see is that when we were creating at first, like you said, there was no money involved in it.
Money changes everything.
And then now that there is money involved in it, the motivation for chasing clout or becoming an influencer is completely different because now people see the numbers that Brad has, and make no mistake about it, Brad is making a lot of money. Like there's no secret there. And people see that and they think, wow, if I could make poker videos, I could maybe make a lot of money. Let me just copy what Brad does.
But I wonder if they think that works. Do you know what I mean? I wonder if people think, can I just copy what Brad does and it'll work for me?
It's like with anything. Like when things work in business, flipping houses, right? When there weren't people flipping houses, that was a viable business.
But does that work in creative spaces? Maybe it does. I don't know.
I think it works in any area of life where a process and a method creates success. So this process has created success for Brad.
Yeah.
So people want to emulate that. But the problem is that if everyone does that, people get drowned out, saturated, lost in the shuffle, and it doesn't work.
Right.
Which is the same thing with happening with
Which is
flipping.
kind of what happens a little. It's kind of happening a little bit now.
For sure.
Like, I'll put a tag on a video, like poker vlog, and it'll literally come up with like 500 channels.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many poker vloggers, which in one way is awesome. That's great. It's unbelievable.
Definitely.
But then in another way, like if you go and you look at some of these channels, it's just like discouraging.
But at the same token, like I want people to feel emboldened and empowered to actually create their content. So definitely don't want to discourage people from
Not at all.
content. What do you think that your big poker goals are? Like, do you see yourself ever becoming a tournament player? Do you see yourself climbing stakes to higher stakes and being on these like hustler live streams? Like, what is a poker dream for Jaman?
Twofold. Number one, it actually just piggybacks on the last sentence you said about like inspiring new creators. Like, again, just want to get it out. Like, I'm not trying to put down any creators. Like, I don't care if you have one video and 2 subscribers. Odds are I probably left a comment on your channel like, hey, go get them. Like, you can do it. You know, blah blah blah. I do that all the time because I want to inspire. Like that's one of the things I want to inspire. I want to collab. I want people to come together and be a community. So that is one goal. The other goal, as far as poker related, I don't know if I'll go back to tournaments. When I first started playing, they were tournaments because I was scared of cash. Like cash is just like the idea of
You can lose a lot.
you can lose. Like, what do you mean? Like I can lose like $100. Like I'm not losing $100. Like,
This is a budget. When it's a tournament, it's a budget. You know? It's my $40 buy-in for this tournament.
So yeah, my goal is to move up stakes in cash. I'm currently actively working with a coach a lot to try to crack like the 10-20 stage right now. I'm getting my ass handed to me every time I sit down and play a session, which kind of sucks.
But I think it's really admirable that this far along in your poker career, that number one, you get a coach.
Yeah.
Because I think that so many people that have played poker successfully, especially people that have been successful over a course of a long time, 20 plus years for you, 20 years or so, you feel like safe in this, like, I've beaten these games playing this particular way. I've molded my style a little bit, evolved a little bit over the years, but to really shake things up and, beat the 10-20s, and especially here in Vegas, it's a tough game. It's going to require more than you evolving your style. It's going to involve you getting a coach and getting out of your comfort zone. So I applaud you for doing that.
Thank you, sir.
And I look forward to you being on massive live streams.
Do you like playing on live streams?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah. Because I like the pain. From all angles. I like the pain from like making the wrong decision and having to deal with it later and, working through that. And I actually like the haters in some way.
Yeah.
If I do something wrong, I like when people reach out to me and say like, oh, that was terrible. And I like the praise.
Yeah.
I like it when people are like, oh my God, how'd you fold kings there?
I remember that.
Like
That was to Brad, wasn't it?
It's all part of the human experience.
You folded kings to Brad, right?
No, it was somebody else.
What did you fold to Brad? Wasn't that kings versus aces?
Flush over flush.
Flush over flush. That's what it is. That's what
flush over
what it
flush
is.
there.
Like I don't, and I don't know why I don't have this. Again, this is something I've tried to have. Like, I don't care anymore about the metrics. And when I very, very first started, I did. It was like, oh, I have 5 subscribers. I have 15 subscribers. We just hit 1,000. We hit 20,000 subscribers. And then somewhere along the line, I just stopped caring. Like somebody asked me, like, how many views did like your last video get? I don't know. Like I don't.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because I feel very similarly.
Yeah.
What about when you upload the video and you see like 8 of 10 or 9 of 10 or 10 of 10?
That's annoying.
That I actually do care about.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Because I feel like I'm regressing.
Yeah.
And I always want to feel like I'm growing within something.
That's annoying. The only thing I don't like about that, and all right, we're going to get into like some YouTube studio
For
talk.
those of you that don't know what we're talking about, when you upload a video on YouTube, it tells you how the video is performing in relation to your other uploads.
videos.
So it compares you to yourself. It doesn't compare you to other people,
Right.
which is why when you see that your video is performing in the bottom 10, like 9 of 10, meaning that 9 videos performed better than this one and only 1 performed worse, it kind of eats at you like, okay, so I'm doing something that's not like, it's like almost like a scoreboard for yourself.
Especially if it's a video that you put a lot of heart and soul into.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if it's just something that you know internally, I just slapped this shit together. That does kind of get annoying a little bit if you look at the metrics that way. But the thing is those 10 videos sometimes have nothing in common. One was released at 11 a.m., one was released at 2 a.m., one was, do you know what I mean? So it's like, for instance, I released a video today. I released a video this morning. I completely forgot to put any tags or anything in it at all. Like I just, you know, you have that normal process you go through of releasing and adding the ads and doing all that. And I just completely forgot. And then
you look at it and you see like 9 of 10 or something. Exactly. And you're like, wait, what did I miss? Like,
right.
How did
I forgot to like put any SEO in it, like whatsoever. And then like, I was just like, oh, okay. Like
occasionally when I see like a low performing video, I'm like, maybe I'll change the title.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll change the thumbnail or something like that. Because like I actually do care about outperforming myself.
Correct. You know?
Which I think is like a huge distinction there.
What's really interesting is that some of my highest viewed videos are the ones that I put no effort into.
It's so wild.
Like I did a video that was like, I want to be like Mike. Right. And it was just like a parody. Or I did a video
Mike
that was
Possible.
like, Mike Possible. Or that was like satire of you breaking into my car or something. I literally put that thing together in like 7 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like thousands of views. So like now I'm really starting to, I won't say I'm starting to, but I'm really enthralled by the short form stuff. Like the stuff that like, people that like next gen poker who like came, like those guys that came out of like TikTok and they were just doing these hands just quick turning around. That I think is like super creative. And I'm like gonna like start playing around in that space because I got to do something to like keep my own personal juices flowing.
Yeah,
so
I did that with Instagram stories. Through the World Series.
The World Series.
Yeah, I tried to add music here and there, and then towards the end of the 30 days, my creativity levels were dipping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because I was doing the same thing 30 days in a row and I wasn't allowing myself space to actually like have creative ideas. I was playing poker every day. I was losing towards the end. You know, so I feel like having creative energy is not something that you can just like, it has to like kind of come in like the natural course of your life.
So like my goals are never like the metrics. Like I want to get to 100,000 subs and I want to get to this, like, and that's great if that is your goal. But my goal has always been, I want to look at the video I did last year at this time and be able to look at the video I'm doing now and saying the one I'm doing now is better.
Yeah, that's been tough for me because I've looked at some of the videos that I've made in the past and I was like, wow, this is good.
I never think that. I've always.
And then I look at some of my recent videos and I'm like, this is shit. This is such
Do you think
crap.
you were putting more time into it back then? Or were you like, your
I
heart
think
was in
that
it?
I was more creatively inspired maybe with the other video and a more current video, I was less inspired and like slapped it together. And so I think it's not necessarily that I just thought my old videos were great or whatever. I think it's just more of an evaluation of I need to be more inspired when I create the video so that I don't look back on it and be like, oh, this was shit. And you can kind of tell, you know. If
you didn't create a video about poker, what's next on your list that would be inspiring for you to create a video about?
I think that what really fills me up and gives me a lot of energy is when I'm able to move other people, inspire other people. And I think the way that I can do that is through perhaps tough times that I work through, trips that I take where like things are outside of my comfort zone. Whenever you're outside of your comfort zone and you can talk about the lessons of that, But the problem is it's like really hard to tell stories like that. You know, like we have this centralized thing of poker that we can come back to.
You too, like me, you like telling stories.
I love telling stories.
Not everybody likes telling stories.
It's got to be a story.
Yeah, me too.
Otherwise, and that's actually like, even though Brad isn't like a traditional storyteller, he actually does tell stories. I talked about this in a previous video, actually the last upload that I did. Poker sessions are actual self-contained stories.
Sometimes.
You know, it's like you show up and you leave.
Yeah.
And everything in between could be just reporting hands.
Yeah.
Or it could be a story of a magical tale of how you came to win money in this poker session.
I see him as a story. That's why I threw that like mid-session update thing in there, because it's like,
I love that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like your tagline. You've inspired me. Like I said, I had a lunch with Matt Vaughn earlier today, came up with some ideas. Here, just talking to you, have some ideas. I'm going to throw it out here on the Embrace the Grind podcast. I'll figure out the mechanics of this, but I'm going to do a Twitch live stream where I watch poker vloggers and dissect what's good, what could use some work, what I find creative about this, what inspired me about this, what maybe they maybe talk too much during this part, maybe the graphics could be better here, maybe the storytelling could use some improvements here or there.
I think most talk too much.
Yeah. For sure. But I'm gonna run it on Twitch and just maybe have a few beers. I'm gonna invite you on.
I'm on
to be like a Cisco and Ebert. You remember that show?
Oh.
I think the audience might be too young for that, but we know Cisco and Ebert, 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down. You know, I
remember one of the best, and it might have been like the first advice that Andrew Nemi ever gave me when I said, "Hey, what do you think of my vlog?" And he goes, "Keep it moving. Like you got to keep it." Because I would just sit and go on like long monologues about blah blah. He goes, "No, you got to keep it moving."
All right, so coming soon to a Twitch channel.
Yeah, let's do it.
Me with a special guest, Jaman, dissecting poker vlogs.
We'll have to come up with a cool name.
As Cisco and Ebert, Jaman and Vibes. Yeah. Anyways, it's been a lot of fun catching up with you, and that's a great thing. We talked for over an hour. I had zero script. I knew that I would not. Need to prepare any questions for you, because we have this kind of rapport that we could just sit there, turn on the mics, turn on the camera, lights, camera, action, just chat.
We do it for 2 more hours.
I feel like we could, but you gotta head out to vlog.
I know. I'm gonna try to find a game somewhere.
I think I have a sneak peek. He's heading to the encore.
Let's blow up the spot.
I heard him on the vlog. All right. Well, thanks again, Jaman.
Thank you for having me, sir.
And we'll talk soon.
All right.
Embrace the grind.